Hi, my name is Bin Su. I'm an associate professor in political science at National Zhenjiang University. My study aims to examine the political economy of Taiwan-China diplomatic competition in Latin America and the Caribbean, namely the LAC region. It also aims to provide policy implications for Taiwan's diplomatic relations in the future. Taiwan's diplomacy is largely shaped by the competition for international recognition between the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. In 1969, Taiwan had 70 diplomatic partners, the most in its history, while China maintained diplomatic relations with 47 countries. From 1970 to 2021, Taiwan established diplomatic ties with 32 countries, but 89 countries ceased diplomatic relations with Taiwan and turned to recognize China. From 2016 to 2021, the number of Taiwan-aligned countries in the LAC region dropped from 12 to 8. The countries that switched diplomatic ties from Taiwan to China were Panama in 2017, the Dominican Republic in 2018, El Salvador in 2018, and Nicaragua in 2021. As of February 2022, Taiwan maintains official diplomatic relations with 14 countries in the world, with 8 of them in LAC, including Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, what explains China's diplomatic success in LAC? Many studies have argued that China's increasing economic involvement in the region is arguably the most important factor. In the past 2 decades, China has been increasingly able to use different policy instruments of economic statecraft to pursue its strategic goals. Recent studies suggest that the countries that abandoned Taiwan were attracted by Chinese promises related to the Belt and Road Initiative, namely the BRI, which was adopted in the year of 2013. Therefore, the anticipated economic gains from China appear to be a crucial motivation for small states to build diplomatic ties with China. However, there are several important questions that remain largely unanswered in the existing literature. First, given that defector countries might anticipate that switching diplomatic recognition would lead to more economic gains, have they indeed become better off? Second, given that the BRI attracts small states to have more economic interactions with China, are Taiwan-aligned countries that were economically worse off after 2013 more likely to be attracted by Chinese economic promises and therefore tend to switch diplomatic ties from Taiwan to China? To address these questions, we relied on reviewing existing literature to propose 2 theoretical hypotheses, and we conducted empirical tests on these hypotheses. The first hypothesis is the switching helps hypothesis. Based on previous literature, we hypothesized that switching diplomatic recognition to Beijing tends to improve a country's economic performance to a significant extent. To test this hypothesis, we conducted a difference in difference analysis, namely the DID analysis, to examine the three LAC countries that severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan sometime in the period from 2000 through 2019. The reasoning behind the hypothesis is that the countries that abandoned Taiwan would receive more investment and aid from China, which is expected to contribute to a higher level of economic growth in these countries. Interestingly, our DID analysis shows that the switching helps hypothesis is not supported by the empirical evidence. In fact, we find that economic growth in Costa Rica, Dominica, and Grenada was slower after switching ties from Taiwan to China, and the results are statistically significant. Therefore, these three cases provide strong evidence that switching ties from Taiwan to China slows down economic growth. The second hypothesis is the BRI attracts hypothesis. Based on the previous literature, we hypothesized that Taiwan-aligned countries tended to sever diplomatic ties with Taiwan if their economic growth slowed down after 2013, the year when the BRI was adopted. To test this hypothesis, we conducted DID analysis to examine 11 LAC countries that had maintained diplomatic ties with Taiwan in the period from 2000 through 2017. The reasoning behind this hypothesis is that the governments of long-term Taiwan-aligned countries will consider how much the economies of other long-term China-aligned countries have improved after the PRI was adopted in 2013. If the hypothesis is supported, we expect to see that most Taiwan-aligned countries whose economy grows slower than their China-aligned counterparts after 2013 should have severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan. Again, our DID analysis shows that the BRI attract hypothesis is not supported by the empirical evidence. We find that among the 9 long-term Taiwan-aligned countries that experience slower economic growth since 2013, only 2 countries, namely El Salvador and Nicaragua, severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan. However, the results do not reach statistical significance. Therefore, the evidence suggests that being economically worse off does not necessarily motivate more Taiwan partners to change their diplomatic recognition policy. Overall, our study shows that switching ties from Taiwan to China does not necessarily help a country achieve faster economic growth. Moreover, it also shows that anticipated economic gains from China's BRI might not be the most important factor that shapes a country's decision to side with China or Taiwan. However, while our hypotheses about the economic motives for switching diplomatic relations are not strongly supported by the empirical evidence, it does not suggest that economic considerations are not important for countries to maintain diplomatic ties with Taiwan. We argue that the Taiwanese government should work harder to enhance the economies of its diplomatic partners. This study suggests 2 policy recommendations. First, the Taiwan state-owned companies, such as the Taiwan Agricultural Investment and Development Company, the TAIC, must take the lead in investments in Taiwan-aligned countries, so that Taiwanese private investment will be encouraged to follow. Second, given that the United States is the largest trading partner in all LAC countries, the Taiwanese government must seek cooperation with important U.S. agencies, such as the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, the DFAC, to make effective investments in Taiwan-aligned countries. Thank you very much.